Hi, Advanced Algebra 2B. So these are the notes for Monday, September 24th, and they go with the max profit problem that we did today in class. So today in class, just as a reminder, and especially too if you weren't here, we were looking at this problem where you have 4,000 songs that you're selling on an online store, and you're selling them for $1 per song. And under this situation, every day you would make $4,000 of profit. And then just as a recap, so for every 5 cents that you increase the price, you've found that you lose about 80 songs, like 80 fewer people buy songs from you each day. And so we looked at this problem and we said, well, how do we make the most profit that we can? So if we increase the price to $1.05, then that means we're losing 80 people or 80 songs. And so that means we're only selling 3,920 songs. So if we take that number of songs and multiply it by the new price, we see that we get $4,116, which is more money than we were making when we were charging just $1 per song. Now, it's more money because you're getting an extra nickel off of about 3,000 people, so it doesn't really matter as much that you lost 80. And if we continue to increase the price by 5 cents, so from 105 to 110, then we're again going to lose 80 people. And we take the new number of people or the number of songs times the price, and we see that we make even more money. We get $4,224. And we kept doing this process in class today, and if you weren't here, you should probably try this out on your own, see what happens. The general consensus, though, was that this took a really long time. You had to keep going, and the price kept going up and up and up, and it just was taking a long time to get through all this math. And so we really need an equation for this. And so it helps sometimes when you're trying to set up an equation to write out a verbal model. A verbal model is just the words for what you're doing. So right now we're taking the number of songs, we're multiplying it by the cost per song, and that's telling us the profit. Now the number of songs is starting at 4,000, and then we're decreasing it by 80 each time we make a decrease. So X for me is the number of times I'm changing the price, or the number of times the price changes. And then the cost per song is starting at $1, and then it's going up by 0.05 every time I change the price. So notice that is the same X. Now, some of you guys saw in class today, but not everybody, and we didn't get to this in every single class, that we can use our graphing calculator in a pretty cool way. So here are the steps. Make sure, by the way, that you get these graphing calculator steps written down on your notes. So in our graphing calculator, we're going to go into our y equals, and we're going to plug in the equation I have written down here. And actually, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see better. Okay. So in my y equals, I'm going to plug in parentheses 4,000 minus 80. And then the X is this little XT theta N button right here. This is your X button. Close the parentheses, and then another set of parentheses, and what was it? 1 plus 0.05, and again the X button is right here next to the alpha button. And once I get that typed in, my XY table can do all of the guessing and checking that we were doing above for me. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the second button and then the table. So hit second at the top of your calculator, and then table on the top right. And notice this takes me at 0. I'm at 4,000, which was the amount of money I made first. And then after one price increase, I'm at $4,116, which is what I got before. At 2 price increases, I'm at 4,224, which is the numbers I was seeing in my table above. If I zoom out a little bit, you guys can see this. So these are the same numbers as I was getting before. Okay, so you can go to your XY table then. I'll zoom in one more time. And now instead of having to write it on my work, I've got all the numbers here, and I can just keep scrolling. And as long as the numbers are getting bigger in my Y column, I know I'm increasing my profit. And so then right here at 15, something special happens. Notice at 15 that I've gone up all the way to $4,900, and then I've gone back down, and now the prices are decreasing. So this is most likely my maximum profit, although I know what the profit is. what I don't know is what the price of my my song should be. I know it's 15 something has something to do with it, but I don't know what this is. And so that's one of the steps that I have on your graph and calculator steps. So you plug it into your y equals, you go to your xy table, you scroll down until you find the max. And for us, the max was at 15 and 4,900. Okay. And then number 3 is really important, and sometimes it's kind of tricky. You need to interpret your answer. So we know the y right now is our profit. That's easy. But what x is sometimes can get tricky. You can forget what x is. And it helps if on your paper when you were setting up your equation, you wrote down what you're thinking of x as. So x for us is the number of times the price changed. And recall that we're changing the price by 0.05 each time. So if the price changed 15 times and each time it changed a nickel, then I would do 0.05 times 15. And I get 0.75. But this is how much the price went up by. And so the price started at $1. Notice up here in our equation we have $1, 1 plus 0.05x. So I'm going to have to add 1 onto this to get $1.75. So this is how much I should charge per song. At least according to my graph and calculator table. And then my max profit would be $4,900 of profit. In class, we actually got far enough for me to ask whether or not this really is the maximum. Because if I look at my table, come on, silly calculator. It might be the case at like 14.5 or 14.1 or 16 or 15.6. Somewhere between 14 and 15 and 16, that it might actually go up above 4,900. And so your graph and calculator can actually show you whether or not this is the true maximum. So on the notes, it says use your table to set your window. What that means is you go into your XY window, which is window button is right here. I'll zoom in again on this so you can see it better. Okay. You hit your window button, and we need to make our X-min, max, Y-min, and Y-max be bigger and smaller. Now, the X-min, the X is the number of times we're changing our price, and so that's going to be 0 is going to be the smallest. We could change it no times. The maximum number, well, we know that it has to be at least 15 because we saw in our XY table that 15 was giving us a good max. And usually, whatever that is, I like to double it, so I would make it 30. The X scale is what our tick marks are going to go by, so let's make those go by 5s. And then the Y value is representing our profit. So I'm going to make the Y-min be 0. Our max profit we think is 4,900, but maybe it's going to be a little bit more, so I'm going to make that be 5,000. And since we're going all the way up to 5,000, I think I'm going to do 500 for my scale. I generally like whatever this number is, if it's really big, I just take off a 0, and that's usually a good scale to use. So now, when I hit the graph button on my graphing calculator, you're going to see a nice arc. And notice that the top of the arc is right in the middle, which is right around where 15 might be. Now, on your calculator, you can hit the second button, and then this calc menu right here is amazing. It has so many good things in it that we're going to use a ton this year. So hit second calc. Notice that there's a maximum option on your calculator, and we're going to hit enter on it. Now, this guy right here says left bound, and it's asking us to choose a number that we're certain is to the left of the max up here. So I know 0 is for a fact on the left of it. So I hit 0 and then enter. And then it's asking for a right bound, and so now I want to pick a number, an x value, so this is on the x-axis, that I'm sure is to the right. Well, 30 was the biggest x I put in, so I'm going to use 30. And now it asks us, do you want it to guess? And so when it hits guess, you just say enter, just hit enter one more time. And look, sure enough, the calculator's telling us that the true maximum is at 15 and 4,900. So we know that we really did find the absolute maximum, and it's not something like 15.1 or 15.4. Now I know some of you are probably looking at this 0.000003. This is a rounding error. If there's that many decimal points, that many zeros, this 0.3 you can ignore. It's just a rounding error. You can just take that off and call it a straight 15. All right, that's it for notes tonight. Make sure, please, that you've got all the directions written down. So you have everything written down that you see on the paper, and this needs to be on a separate sheet of paper than the one that we were working on in class, because this is going to go in the note section of your binder, not in the coursework section. All right, thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night, guys.